the same dynamic. You'll see it play out with a kid. So anytime that food might be available, like let's say at a party or a special occasion, they will overeat that food. They will have it just because it's there versus if they even like it or if they even want it.
Hi, I'm Maggie from HealthyWay, and I'm here with Shannon a registered and licensed dietitian. And we're going to be talking about helping kids create healthy eating habits. So hi, thanks for coming.
Thanks so much for having me.
So my first question for you is, what is intuitive eating?
So intuitive eating is a process with food that helps you to connect to your body. So you're able to listen to when you're hungry, stop when you're full, look at like what foods satiate you, what your food rules might be from years of dieting. It helps you to look at like what your relationship is with food, what your relationship is with your body, what relationship is with exercise. It's like a whole system approach when you're looking at food because you're addressing all these underlying issues. To raise an intuitive eater is to ask your kid, when do they feel hungry and how does that feel in their stomach, and when do they feel full and how does that feel? Like asking those questions we don't really ever ask our kids. Right. What tends to happen is the parents will dictate this is how much you should eat and when you should eat in order to maybe get dessert or that sort of thing. So it creates this kind of really poor relationship. And typically those negative habits start because parents are dieting. Right. So a big part is to recognize if there's issues for yourself and the way you may be projecting them onto your kids.
What is the relationship between food and permission?
When you're looking at in the diet culture, there's lots of food rules and lots of foods that are banished that you can't have and that are off limits. When you're allowing yourself to have the foods that you've created to be off limits, then you have a freedom that you can then decide, do I even like this food? Do I even want this food? When you don't have permission, you're going to have it whether you want it or not.
How does permission from a parent then impact a child's relationship with food?
The same dynamic. You'll see it play out with a kid. So anytime that food might be available, like let's say at a party or a special occasion, they will overeat that food. They will have it just because it's there versus if they even like it or if they even want it. They tend to create this all or nothingness relationship with that sort of food. You know, the extreme in a lot of our society right now is like, that's processed. You cannot have that food. And but to recognize like that's going to be there. It's going to be there if they go to their friend's house. It's going to be there when they, are going away at college. If we fast forward, that their relationship, if those foods have not been a big deal, that then they'll do okay with it.
Right. Everything is screaming at us to be thin. I mean, we see it on social media. Obviously, models in magazines, that's been an issue forever. How can we raise kids who, understand that stigma that is a part of our society, but then be able to have a more healthy mindset, with food and with their body and all of that?
So we're taught in our society that healthy equals skinny. Right. And in fact, anyone's body can be of any size and be healthy. So being healthy is eating nutritious foods, moving your body, getting plenty of sleep, drinking enough water. So you can be doing all of those things and living in those healthy behaviors regardless of what size your body is in. It's breaking the stigma. It's teaching them that those things don't go hand in hand. And that our society, because the diet culture that we live in, because it's a $60 billion industry, is always fueling for there to be people who are obsessed with diets and weight and that sort of thing. So all of those come together. The other big part for a child is looking at the changes that happen even just during puberty. So it's normal to gain 20 to 50 pounds in a relatively short period of time, and it's all fatty tissue that's gained. That's a time period that most parents start to become worried about their kid's weight, and when they're worried about it, then their kid thinks there's something wrong with them versus just this normal and natural change.
With all of that said, how do we help our kids, learn to eventually make those healthy choices on their own?
There's what's called body-food congruence. So we're teaching our kids to connect into their body. So let's say after they have a nutritious meal, we would ask them, do they feel energized or do they feel sluggish? And we could pose the same question to after they have fast food or after they have lots of sweets, for them to connect in, to check in to see how do they feel. You're letting them decide and kind of putting them in the driver's seat versus you telling them, no, you can't have this. Yes, you can have this. It's letting them decide.
I've struggled with eating issues and body image issues throughout my life because, you know, what woman in America hasn't? Now that I'm raising a daughter, you know, I'm really trying to get her to be mindful of these things. Like her favorite foods right now are vegetables, and she loves that. What would be your best advice that is going to make sure that she maintains this like healthy view of everything we've talked about as she, you know, goes through elementary and middle school?
So it's really keeping really neutral with foods and talking very positively about body, her body, your body, and like the people that are around you.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on to talk to us about this.
Thanks so much for having me.
Tune in next week when I sit down with Kate from The Bejeweled Life to talk about her favorite tools for cooking with kids.